Hello and welcome to Top of the Ninth. Today we are going to take a look at the top 9 right fielders of all time ranked by career WAR. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. 9 to start us off is one of the greatest power hitters of his time, Reggie Jackson. Arguably the best hitter of the 70s, Jackson was the best player on 5 championship teams for 2 different franchises. He was the star hitter for the 1972 to 74 3PAs before getting traded to Baltimore for a year before signing with the Yankees as the highest paid free agent, leading the Yankees to back-to-back titles in 77 and 78. Jackson led the league in homers 4 separate times and won an MVP to show his dominance and was on every ad and magazine during his era. Reggie Jackson was one of the first 3 true outcome players in baseball, as he hit above 300 in season only once. He was always swinging for the fences, shown by his 567 homers, was top 10 in walks 5 separate seasons, and is the MLB's all-time strikeout leader, 2,597, which is 13 more strikeouts than he had career hits. Overall, he would be higher on my list, but ranking purely based off of WAR, he is ninth with 73.9 career WAR. Coming in at 8 is 3-time batting champ Paul Waner. In 1927, in his second season in the MLB, he won MVP with the Pirates, winning his first batting title with a 380 batting average, and was the league leader in RBIs with 131 and triples with 18. Often overlooked as a great due to him making only the playoffs once in his career, back and truly great players and MVPs were mainly judged off of team performance. He also played in the era as Ruth, Ott, and other greats such as Garrick as well. Still, with 74.8 WAR, he is eighth all-time in career right field WAR by having a 333 career batting average, 3,152 hits, and is 10th all-time in career triples and 15th in career doubles in a career that I think never got its due. He is still forever loved in Pittsburgh, and his number 11 is retired by the franchise. 7 is the all-time triple leader, Sam Crawford, with 75.3 career WAR. After starting his career with the Reds, after 4 seasons, he joined the Detroit Tigers in 1903, where he achieved superstardom. Fastest player of his era, Crawford led the league in triples 6 times and had 20 stolen bases in season 11 separate times. With the young Ty Cobbs joining the Tigers in 1905, they would form the best outfield in baseball and lead the Tigers to 3 straight World Series appearances from 1907 to 1909, unfortunately losing each time. A Hall of Famer, Crawford fell just short of the 3,000 hit club with 2,961, with 309 triples, most all time, and 458 doubles. Crawford is an all time great Detroit Tiger and right fielder. 6 is Mr. Tiger Al Kaline, playing all 22 seasons with Detroit. One of the best ever to not get an MVP, Kaline was the face of the Tigers during his playing days from 1953 to 1974. He did a bit of everything exceptional, from winning 10 Gold Gloves, 18 All-Star teams, 30,000 hits, and 399 homers. Kaline was an all-around player. Kaline was a star on a team that could never get over the hump, as from 1953 to 1967, he never once saw the postseason, but in 1968, they finally got over the hump, beating prime Bob Gibson and the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series that year. That series, he batted 377 and 2 home runs to help them achieve success. In total, Kaline put up 92.8 WAR, including 5 seasons with the WAR above 6.5. That is taken up by an all-time great and even better human, Roberto Clemente, with 94.8 WAR. Plus, with one of the best outfield arms of all time, Clemente was one of the best fielders ever, evidenced by his 12 Gold Gloves. A 2-time World Series champ with Pittsburgh, including being on the underdog team that upset and walked off the Yankees in Game 7 of the 1960 World Series, Clemente could do much more than field, as he had 3,000 hits and a 319 career batting average. Unfortunately, this could have been so much more, as during the offseason, just after batting 312, losing in the NLCS. He was helping take supplies from his home country, Puerto Rico, to Nicaragua on New Year's Eve after they just had a massive earthquake when his plane crashed. He died helping others, and his legacy is honored with the Roberto Clemente Award, given to ball players showing best character each season. That's his two-time MVP, Frank Thompson. He had 586 career homers and put up 107.3 WAR. A two-time MVP in 1966 NL Triple Crown winner, Robinson was one of the best hitters of the 60s, where he spent the first half of the decade playing for the Reds, where he won his first MVP before getting traded to Baltimore in 1966, winning his second MVP and winning his first World Series with Baltimore, who he would go on to make four World Series trips with and win two titles. With the Orioles, he was one of four Hall of Fame players that dominated on those teams, along with third baseman Brooks Robinson, pitcher Jim Palmer, and Hall of Fame manager Earl Weaver. When he retired in 1976, Frank's 586 homers put him fourth all time, being the best power hitter of the 60s. A 14-time All-Star, he also managed to put up a 294 batting average with 2,943 hits, and later in his career he became a player manager of the Cleveland Indians in 1974, where he would break the color barrier as the first black manager in MLB. Number three in career right field was Mel Ott, who despite being 5'9", became an all-time great power hitter. Ott started playing in the bigs at 17 years old for the New York Giants in 1926 and would go on to spend his whole career with. At the age of 20, he smashed 42 homers in a season, which is still the single season record for homers in a season by someone 20 years old or younger. A six-time NL home run leader, Ott was the face of the Giants, routinely hitting above 300 while getting walked a lot. His .414 on-base percentage is 29th all-time, which is remarkable since he had over 11,000 plate appearances. Despite his greatness, he only won one World Series and made 12 All-Star teams, despite not being an All-Star game invented for his first 7 years in his league. Overall, Ott put up 110.9 WAR, one of the best players in MLB history at 5'10" or shorter, up there with Willie Mays and Eddie Collins. Runner-up for the best right fielder of all time is Hank Aaron, who was the home run king before Barry Bonds broke in 2007. Aaron is much more than just a power hitter, as he is top 10 in multiple categories such as hits, WAR, home runs, RBIs, which he is the all-time leader, and extra base hits. Aaron played his whole career with the Atlanta Braves/Milwaukee Braves, where he is a 25-time All-Star and helped them win the 1957 World Series with the following greats: Warren Spahn and Eddie Matthews. Matthews also in his career hit over 500 homers from one of the best power hitting duos of all time. Aaron for his career had 3,771 hits, 755 homers, a 305 batting average, and his 143 career WAR is seventh all time, put him up there on Mount Rushmore of all time great hitters. As mentioned, he is the RBI leader in MLB history with 2,297 and has one MVP, three gold gloves, and two batting titles, and has his number 44 retired by the Braves. The number one right fielder of all time is the great Bambino, Babe Ruth, who has the most all-time WAR of 182.6. There might not be a more iconic player in MLB history than Babe Ruth, who was often not in shape, was the face of New York City, where he would go be with many women and drink all the time, yet would still go out and be the best player the next day. After being pitcher for the start of his career, Ruth would become a full-time hitter at 23 years old, helping the Red Sox win the World Series that year in 1918. After the 1919 season, Ruth was traded to the Yankees, where he would win six more World Series titles, while the Red Sox would become cursed and would not win another World Series until 2004, 86 years later. In total, Ruth would lead the league in homers 12 separate times and had 11 seasons where he hit 40 or more. His 60s homers in 1927 would be the record until Maris broke in 1960 and was once seen as an unreachable goal. Ruth was so far ahead of his time when he hit 50 homers in 1920 The second best was 19 that season. Ruth was so far ahead of everyone else in the power department until his teammate Lou Gehrig came around. Overall, Ruth had 714 homers, a 342 batting average, 7 World Series titles, third all-time in career walks, 2,873 hits, which would have been higher not if it wasn't for his high amount of walks, and his 206 OPS plus shows he was twice as good as the average hitter during his time and is the best right fielder and possibly the best player of all time.